superintendent indicated, under our constitutional system, my power as president is wisely limited. But there are some areas where my power is absolute.
I have fantasized, don't get me wrong, but that what if we could just beat China for a day? I mean, just one day, you know what I mean? Where we could actually, authorize the right solutions, and I do think there is a sense of that on everything from the economy to environment.
That's a vermin of the New York Times named Thomas Friedman who wishes we could become a China-like nation. I guess he doesn't like the nasty divisiveness in America. What he doesn't understand is that the mark of a healthy democracy is dissension, and that a nation where there is no dissension is a dictatorship. I guess old Tommy missed that while going to school over there in England and while giving himself a Pulitzer Prize or two. I guess old Tommy boy missed that while he bought his $12 million mansion near the White House in order to entertain the King of Saudi Arabia. And I guess old Tommy missed all of those little vagaries of the Constitution, where it's not practiced after all, as the nation that he reveres. China, no Constitution. Saudi Arabia, no Constitution. And so it comes back to the word liberal. What is a liberal today? Obviously, Thomas Friedman is not a liberal. He is a crypto-fascist. I will tell you again, I, Michael Savage, who is known as a forceful conservative, whatever you want to call me, am closer to the liberal ideal than the phony progressives of today. You can mark that one down. And I'm going to quote Wikipedia now. Wikipedia is a liberal publication. Here's what they said. Quote, liberals in the 19th century wanted to develop a world free from government intervention, or at least free from too much government intervention. They championed the ideal of negative liberty, which constitutes the absence of coercion and the absence of external constraints. They believed governments were cumbersome burdens, and they wanted governments to stay out of their lives, stay out of the lives of individuals. Where are the liberals of today? I think they would be called conservatives. So how did the liberals of yesterday become the crypto-fascists of today? Well, those are the questions that we've been pondering here on the Savage Nation for quite a while. And if you care to join in on any of the topics I raised, the phone number you know is 1-800-449-8255. Let's begin with Chris in Mississippi. Chris, what's on your mind?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to talk about the absolute powers thing that Obama came up with. I'm just wondering which ones is he referring to?
Well, I don't know. He made that speech in front of the cadets at West Point. I would suppose he'd have to enumerate what those absolute powers are. They could be virtually anything. He could say, I'm hereby outlawing the Second Amendment because I have absolute power and I'm Obama and I'm the Messiah.
Yes, sir.
What would happen? What would happen then? Everyone's going to turn their gun in, like in Fidel Castro's Cuba, before they rounded up the dissidents. Everyone's going to turn their guns in, like in in Germany when Hitler came to power, because the dictator said we have to. I don't think so. Do you?
No, sir. I sure don't.
Now, what if the absolute power man Obama said, I have absolute power under extraordinary circumstances. We're living in extraordinary times. I'm hereby banning conservative talk radio because we don't want any more dissension in America. What do you think would happen then? Okay, and what if Obama said this or that? Who gave him the power to have absolute power? Where is it written in the Constitution that any president shall have absolute power? Can any so-called liberal listening to this show explain that to me? Thanks for the call. I think Obama slipped and gave himself away, and I'll tell you what I saw. I saw him speaking. I saw an insecure man. I saw a terrified man who was insecure because he knew, A, he had never served in the military. He knew he didn't have the honor to speak to the cadets. He didn't have the right to speak to the cadets. He knew he was not qualified to speak to the cadets. And so what does a man who is insecure like that do? He overcompensates. He overcompensates by stating, I have absolute power in some areas. That was to show the boys and the men at West Point who their boss was. It was little Mussolini, Junior Doc Obama, who told them in no uncertain terms, don't you dare think that I'm not in charge. I'll show you. You know, this is going to require a real good psychologist to figure out this man. I put Obama on the couch before the election. I know he has a woman problem because of the peripatetic nature of his mother during his upbringing. We understand that we all have problems as a result of our childhood. Only this man is the president. He also has problems because of other issues, including the questions that surround his loyalty to the United States of America and whether they lie here in this country or somewhere else. We do not know where the pole is of his loyalty. We suspect it does not lie in Washington, D.C. This is the Savage Nation. I'll take your calls on any topic you wish. Portland, Oregon. Charles, welcome to the program. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Dr. Savage. There's a rewriting of American history and American ideals. Voices from the past to voices of the present. Ask not what you can do for your country, but ask what you can take from my country.
You mean Obama's telling the world, ask what you can take from my country? Is that your suggestion?
That's a feeling I have. Anybody who's here or in our reach, they can ask for what they want and take what they want.
Well, it didn't happen by accident. You know, there's an interesting editorial along those lines I put up on michaelsavage.com. My own headline is Obama Threatens Friends and Bows to Enemies. It was written by Michael Goodwin of the New York Post. I highly recommend it. It's a short editorial. He called it Bam's Days of the Week. And he said President Obama is the backward man. Teddy Roosevelt's advice to speak softly and carry a big stick was meant as a guide to successful foreign relation. Obama has completely muddled the message. He speaks softly to foreign adversaries and uses the big stick on American dissenters. Iran and Syria are wooed endlessly with carrots, apologies, and promises. They respond with taunts and threats and pay no penalty. North Korea sinks a South Korean ship, and our Secretary of State says it means no more business as usual. That's an admission has been business as usual even after the Looney Kingdom tested nukes. The Mexican president comes to Washington and berates American citizens for expressing their views through the democratic process, and Obama shamefully nods in agreement. A State Department aide apologizes to China about our treatment of illegal immigrants. Remember that one of last week? Meanwhile, American fat cat bankers and greedy doctors and sundry opponents, he's putting them in quotes, are demonized as enemies of the state. In other words, Obama attacks doctors, attacks talk show hosts, attacks bankers as demons. And they respond by sullenly surrendering the healthcare and financial industries to big government. Welcome to a double disaster. America now has a foreign policy that is a dangerous flop, and a homeland as bitterly divided as ever. And don't forget 10% unemployment and skyrocketing deficits and debt. Heck of a job, Mr. President. That's the Obama record, he writes. Just because he won't face it or even answer questions about it doesn't mean the rest of us must ignore it. America is in trouble, and Obama can't be counted on to save her. And he goes on. He's not going to change. He is who he is. And what you see is what you're going to get for as long as he is president. Obama has made two fundamental decisions, and both are making us weaker. He is putting America on bended knee around the world, and he is centralizing in the political class more and more power over the domestic economy. His goal of trading America's old friends and allies for new ones threatens to leave us more isolated than before. The old ones are mad and suspicious, and the new ones don't want to be our friends. How exactly have Russia and China reciprocated our self-abasement? They haven't. But we have managed to cause angst and anger in Britain, Israel, and Eastern Europe. Read about it on michaelsavage.com. It's a great editorial. It's a short one by Michael Goodwin. It's the Savage Nation.
Savage.